Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from Germany. Welcome Christopher this time back here at Startuprad.io. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
It's completely my pleasure. When we've been still an audio-only podcast here in Frankfurt, we've been talking, and I just looked it up. It was published in March 2017, almost 4 years ago. It feels like a lot has happened since, right?
Absolutely. Can't imagine, like 2017, Clark was a different company.
We'll talk a little bit about your journey here. Let us first get our enabler mentioned here. This interview is brought to you by investinhessen.com, which provides you detailed information on the state of Hessen as a business location and is specifically aimed at investors. As I was going through our past interview, of course, if you go down here in the show notes, there is a blog post, and on the blog post, there's also this interview as an audio-only podcast, as well as our past interview as an audio-only podcast. And at the time, we were talking because you've been mentioned as one of the very few German startups in the Bloomberg list of startups you most likely never heard of, but actually should have an eye on. I remember a few interactions from that, but let us get back to this later. When I was listening to this, I was wondering, we never talked how you and your co-founders actually met.
Yes, that was in 2015. And let me actually maybe start by saying that the team is still complete. So it's still the same people that are behind Clark, basically, since day one. And it was in 2015. And, I think it started a bit with a pain point that I had myself in insurance because, I was between jobs. I had a lot of time and I wanted to get my insurance stuff done. Like it was on my to-do for a long time. So I thought, okay, now is a good moment to do that. And I couldn't find a tool or no program or nothing where I could get this done. I just didn't find the help that I wanted to have. And I thought, okay, I have to do something about this myself. And then we actually met through, the network, friends of friends, and it all came together, basically. I think in summer 2015, the team was fully on board. And it's been a fantastic ride since because what we had as an initial hypothesis and what we wanted to achieve still holds true today. And it's it's not a quick shot. Like you can't turn the insurance industry upside down in a super short amount of time. It's a and we found each other 2015, shared the pain point or figured out that we shared the pain point and everyone in the team was able to contribute something different. Right, Marco has a background in insurance, Stefan has a background in technology, Chris in marketing, me in startup and digital businesses. So it all came together there.
And Marco, he's also a podcaster here in Frankfurt as well, which is pretty interesting. I have to talk to him. So the founding team is actually still there. And how did you guys talk? Oh yeah, insurance is so boring. Yeah, insurance is so boring. Let's do something about it.
No. That wasn't actually. I also, it took time for me to fall in love with the insurance market, right? Like it's not that it's nothing that you start thinking about and then you immediately say, oh wow, this is something I have to do. But like the more I got engaged with what's going on in insurance, again in 2015, the more clear it became to me that this is going to be a fun and a long-term thing that I would love to do because the pain point for consumers is immense. The business opportunity is extremely large. It's relevant for everyone. I mean, everyone has an insurance product. Everything that you see around you right now probably is somehow insured, like whether it's the house where you sit in, or whether the like what's inside the house, the goods in the house, your car when you drive to work. Everything has a relation to insurance, right? Of course, you have health insurance as well, and maybe even retirement savings. But all of this belongs in this field, so it's a very, very large playing field. And actually, it hasn't been penetrated by technology that much still today. So you have a massive market, you have unhappy customers, and a low degree of digitization. So for a founder, that's a fantastic opportunity. And for that reason, you have to like it.
Yeah, I see. Usually the founding stories, at least recently, involve some wine, but that apparently wasn't the case with you guys. Can you, because you are right now really popular in Germany, because I see you run TV ads on national TV and all stuff like that, and I'm curious, can you explain to somebody who maybe has never had any interactions with Germany, who doesn't even understand what Vollkasko-Mentalität is? Can you explain him a little bit the German love of insurance? And of course, I'll explain later what Vollkasko means.
Of course. So, like take an average German. Average German has 6 insurance policies, and those 6 insurance policies are typically with like 4 different insurance carriers. So what everyone has is a paper folder at home where you have all the documents stored that you get from these insurance companies, and typically this has piled up over the years because you bought these insurance products years ago. You have the paper folder in your sideboard, but you don't really know what's going on. So you don't know like what you actually get for your payments every year and whether this is still adequate. And your life situation has changed. You may be married, you have maybe kids now, you moved houses, you moved jobs, whatever. And you don't know if what you have in this paper folder is still matching your life situation. And there's a gap in the market because what people typically do is they sell you a product, but then afterwards there is silence. And what we do is different. First, we digitize this folder. So instead of having this paper folder in your sideboard, you have all of the data in an application, right? That's the idea. So you always have all your insurance data, contract numbers, durations, what's covered, what not, and so on and so on. And then what we do is we, of course, help you stay up to date. So it's like an ongoing management of these, and we'll tell you every year, look, we just checked your car insurance or we just checked your household insurance, and you know what? You're still doing great. You don't need to change it. You don't need to think about switching it this year. Just pay the premium and you're good for another year. And we'll do that every year, and we'll, of course, stay ahead of what's changing in your life, and then also tell you if something is changing, what it means for your insurance, and if you need to adjust your insurance. So it's meant like one place where you as consumer can do everything that has to do with your insurance. And if you don't understand anything, or if you have a question, like there are sometimes these cases, right? You sit in your garden and you see this big, massive tree that could fall on your neighbor's house. What actually happens if that, like a tree falls on your neighbor's house? Who's paying that? Or your kids play ball in the garden and the ball is falling on the street. The car has to, go exactly divert and hits another car. Whose insurance is paying that? Is it your insurance because it's your kids with the ball? Is it the car insurance of the driver? Like who's in charge of that? So if you have these questions, there's an answer to all of that too. So we can give you peace of mind, because if you're not sure and you have this case and you just want to know what's going on and what would be if, then you can also ask us these type of things, and we have experts that can look in your contract and look this up.
And Vollkasko insurance, as you said, there is Germans love the car insurance, and there's like 3 levels of them, and the highest level, like the almost very free level, is Vollkasko. So meaning Vollkasko Mentalität means peace of mind. Everything is covered, everything's taken care of. Now that we understand that you guys are basically getting the digital folder on your cell phone for all your insurance policies, let us get a little bit into the money, into the venture capital funding. By the way, I'm wondering, when you started in 2015, I know that fintech at this time was a thing, was starting. I did my first fintech review 2014, but was insurtech already a thing? And how did you approach investors for, let's say, seed series A or stuff like this? Did you say, we're a fintech in insurance and this will be awesome and it's more sexy than it sounds?
No, it's a very good point you're raising there, because it was a problem. Like, I think 2015, I don't know if the term insurtech existed at the time or if it was coined shortly after. But it was not so clear. And the problem was that the venture capital industry had no experience with insurtech. So they had hardly any experts that knew the markets. So we needed to explain what a broker, because from a regulatory standpoint, we are an insurance broker. We really had to explain first what this actually is, right? And that was actually hard for them to get comfortable on, because they had, no experts on the market, no past investments in this field that were a success. So it was for them a lot of pioneering work, and many at the time didn't dare to make an investment in this field because they just couldn't assess what business model may be successful and which one not. And that means for us, 2015, there was no funding at all. So it was really marginal. And 2016, we then did our first real financing round. 2015, of course, we also had supporters. So we had some fantastic business angels that were more experts in the field. So they could basically assess if there is an opportunity or not. But it all started off then only in 2016. And actually, if you look at customer numbers and revenue numbers of Clark, especially customers, I think end of 2015, I knew every single customer's name, right? Because it was family and friends and such. So I don't know if we had an actual customer by the end of 2015. And then only 16, it started a bit with money to invest in growth.
When did you go for your Series A round, and how did you approach it? How would you describe Clark at this point? Was it that you still knew all the customers?
Yeah, it was. So, and that's why maybe it also took a bit longer. So I think the Series A, that took us a year or so. That was a very, very long process. I'd say we started summer 2015 when the first website went live, and we then closed it summer a year later. And in the meantime, we talked to probably 300 VCs or so. So it was a very, very tough process. But again, it was this education piece. It was, of course, that there was a lot of uncertainties also around the company and where the business is going. So it's understandable that this took longer. Plus, it was extremely competitive. So when we started 2015, I think there were 15 companies that did exactly the same. So on top of all the uncertainty around, is there actually an opportunity or not? And what is this new thing in insurtech? There were many companies starting in the field, and it was really hard to separate them.
Let me just digest this a little bit. Venture capital in Germany called Risikokapital, so risk capital, were risk averse and didn't want to venture out. Okay, I get that. I actually like that you say that it's venture capital, and in Germany it's risk capital, because they see the risk first of losing the money and not the opportunity of increasing it significantly. Could say that. It's funny. Vollkasko-Mentalität. Is your current funding round that we're talking about, by the way, congratulations to 69 million euros from Tencent from China. Is this your Series B round?
Series C.
Series C. And can we talk a little bit first about your Series B round? What did you guys do there? But I really assume at this time you just didn't know all your clients by name, right? No.
That the company clearly has changed a lot since I think the Series A was the starting point. So there was summer 2016, and then we had like our talk in 2017, and that was already when Bloomberg was aware of us, right? So something must have happened already between summer 2016 and March 2017. And then 2018, we did the Series B, which basically now lasted until 2020. And the amounts, they basically doubled every round, more or less. So with the funds of the Series B, beside Germany, we then also started launching the Austrian market as our first international market. And now with the funds of Series C, we'll actually be staying in the vicinity of Germany and Austria and concentrate our growth in those two markets. And able to scale the marketing channels, try new marketing channels, improve the product, improve the services around the product. All of this is on our list.
That's already a question I would have, because 69 million is quite a lot of money, and I assume you already have all the football tables and all the PlayStations you would need in your company, right?
We have everything that is needed, but no one is in the office using it, right?
Oh yeah, we're still recording this in times of Corona. I would be interested. How did you now approach Series C? How did the contact happen with Tencent? How did you get the connection? Because in the past we talked to Robert Advisor, who has an investor from Russia, and the Russian investor just reached out by email. Did the same thing happen to you?
No. It was, and actually, speaking also a bit about Corona here, we wanted to do the fundraise a little bit earlier. So it was our plan to finish the fundraise in August, September 2020. That was the original plan. But for that, we would have to, prepare the materials, go out and pitch in March and April 2020. And that was in the middle of the first lockdown. The stock market that has share price decreased by 40%. The world was about to go down. So it was hard in those times to go out with a pitch deck and say, hey, we have this great insurtech. Don't you want to invest in my insurtech? So we held it back for another half year and didn't go out in March 2020, but only in August or September 2020 to basically now finish the fundraise 2021. So that had an impact on the timing. And fortunately, that's also why it maybe went so quick. We have had a long list of venture capital companies, interested firms, including Tencent, of course, also on the list, and that we have had contacts with already, that we have created over the last funding rounds and over the last years. So we had those contacts already, and then again in August last year we basically started reaching out with a new set of information about the company. And we're super happy and excited with how the process went, and also with the final result. It's a fantastic partner, many insights that we can get that we probably wouldn't have never gotten otherwise.
Yeah, I can see in the future you're trying your luck in China. But talking about China, I've been living there, and I experienced really firsthand all the cultural differences. Did you experience some of them, and did you learn never ever to offer Chinese a price of 250?
No, I don't know. Do you need to tell me about that?
Well, the story goes there was an emperor who sent out 4 mandarins for high officials, and he gave everyone 250 gold coins. Sorry for all the Chinese listeners if I screw this up. Remember, I'm just a foreigner. And basically, one of the for the eternal life, the mandarins should search for the eternal life. Of course, they didn't find anything, so they came back and handed the emperor back the money. But one was thinking the emperor was stupid and wouldn't realize that he did not give back the 250 gold coins, and so if you offer Chinese 250, you actually tell him you're stupid.
Okay, no, not at all. On the contrary, was super impressed by the team, and I think it was, when you have multiple opportunities, where to get basically the liquidity from or the dollars from, then you choose by the people that you have in front of you, right? And if they can bring something to the table. And we found this absolutely remarkable and impressive. And I think it was a decision more for the team than for the money.
Huh. Would you like to give a mental high five to the people who impressed you most at Tencent?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. No, we like, again, it's been like, and I also don't want to give the impression that this was a surprise, because we've met the people beforehand, and we've like not done business with them beforehand, but like we've had many occasions where we met before, and where they also got to know the company, asked the right questions about the company, followed the company progress, and we just felt they're spot on in their views of where this business can go, and very consistent with what we think about the market.
I see. You just said approximately 5 years ago you set up the company. Now you're in your third investment round. You raised, I think, somewhere in the area of 150 million euros.
A little bit less, but it's 100, 120, like along those lines.
And I would be interested. You said your founding team is still there. How did you maintain a kind of company culture, and how would you describe it? And do you have any advice for an entrepreneur out there with a fast scaling company? On like your best tip or tips for keeping corporate culture, except for buying a table tennis, a table football, and PlayStation?
Yeah, because these are typically the things that actually don't help that much, right? If something is broken or not working, they don't fix it. I think what is super important is that you have people in the team that bring different things to the table, right? And like imagine you want to found a rock band, and you have 3 people that can play the guitar, but you have no drummer and no singer. That would be like, that can't go right. So I think you have to like think about, what kind of music do I want to play in the long run? What is my album going to look like in 3 years or 5 years? What kind of songs do I want to have on this album? What should it sound like? And what kind of people are actually, what kind of roles are actually important to create that? And for us, there was technology, marketing, operations, and digital business. So everyone had a clear role, right? And like everyone also has a clear function and accountability in the company, and an area that he or she is pushing forward. And I think that was super important for us, because don't have one who's working a bit in the area of the other, and everyone is basically, we're all working towards the same thing, but also everyone has a clear expertise and a clear reason for being in the company, basically, and that has helped us a lot, I would say. So I think that's actually something that like young founders should do at the very beginning. Like, if your dream comes true and the company is exactly where you want it to be in 4 years, what does then the org chart look like? And make those top 4 people or 3 people or whatever the top 3 are, make those your founders.
Sorry for all the technical difficulties. We can influence here a lot, but unfortunately not the internet speed, and that is what's bothering us. You may have seen that Christopher's picture jumped in resolution, and the very simple reason is we get delivered different resolutions, and our tool just shows it all the same at the same resolution. Getting to Frankfurt again. You guys actually relocated from Berlin to Frankfurt. How long ago was it, and why?
Yeah, that was 2015. It was never planned differently. So Steffen was elsewhere. He was in London, so for him it didn't matter. But Chris Marford at the time. So it was clear that the company will be founded in Frankfurt. The move that was actually, I wouldn't even say, at the time in Frankfurt, Frankfurt. There wasn't proper offices. It was just easier for the first 2 or 3 months to do things in Berlin. So we did months in Berlin. We have also had our first partner, Findeep, our first investor basically in Berlin, and he provided office spaces and like all the surrounding work basically. So that's why we had worked the first, but actually it was always clear that the company will be Frankfurt. So it wasn't really a move because we never had a fixed office in Berlin, always meant to be in Frankfurt. And I think while the website launched in June 2015, we actually then, moved permanently in September 2015. So that was the reason. And why we're in Frankfurt, it's again, as Marco and myself, we were living at the time here, but it was a conscious choice. Like we were not, if at a time we find enough tech talent in Frankfurt. So what we actually did is we posted tons for a stealth fintech in Frankfurt, and we kind of looked at what kind of CVs are coming in. Is it the right people that we want on board, and is it of staff that we actually need for our company? And only when all of this was answered positively, we actually did that way.
Okay, where do you see the strength of the location? You said you were not sure about the tech talent. Did this already? You already got this settled?
I think that actually worked out very nicely from the beginning. There is less people in Frankfurt that want to work in the tech sector compared to in, but there's also less tech companies that you can work for, right? So it is on a lower level, but actually for a company, it's probably easier to find the right staff in Frankfurt, except for some specific roles, right? Because the various, for example, our entire marketing team is now sitting in Berlin, right? So we have now a proper office in Berlin, and our entire marketing team is also a consulting team in Berlin. We have our CPO is sitting in Berlin. So there's actually first people that are also in the compared to Frankfurt. And I mean, at the moment, it doesn't really matter anyways where the offices are, right?
I see. Really sorry again for the technical difficulties. People just see you moving like a stop motion picture, and that's unfortunately due to the internet speed. Just a final question, closing question. What do you see the most potential for Clark, let's say, in the next 2 to 5 years?
Yes, multiple things. We now have 300,000 customers in Germany. Good, a Norris Bank has maybe 500,000, so you're on a nice track there, catching up with the smaller direct banks. But the market for insurance is so big. Like you have 60 million people in Germany that have insurance, and for them, Clark is relevant. So we just have a marginal market share. So what we actually will do in the next 3, 4, 5 years is we'll massively concentrate growth in Germany and Austria, and maybe add in the 3 or 5 year horizon 2, 3 other European markets, but you'll not see us going to like South America and opening tons of or in North America and all over. Rather concentrate our efforts on fewer markets and to make sure that we build a proper size in those countries.
Well, everything I want to know. Thank you very much. Everybody would like to learn more. They can go down here in the show notes. There is a link to your LinkedIn profile, as well as, of course, to the company website and our interview from 2017. Just to say thank you again. It was such a pleasure having you here, even though we had a few technical difficulties, but mostly limited to the video. Really sorry about that. Thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.